Americans, the United States is not the enemy. I know that may sound crazy coming from Pasha. Forced dependency is. You, despite how I talk about feelings, I know how you feel. You didn't abandon commitment. You rebuilt boundaries and stopped confusing participation with progress. As you can see, this is directly from the LinkedIn post. If you're not on my LinkedIn page, get on it, right? Connect, follow, whatever. Hide in the bleachers, in the crowd, look, whatever you do, all right? Let's go back to the top. For Americans, the United States is not the enemy. Forced dependency is. You didn't abandon commitment. You rebuilt boundaries and stopped confusing participation with progress. See, employees face this before they leave jobs. You know. Founders, vision-led operators, they face this with unproductive clients. The ones that show up every meeting with their task incomplete. America, it's not that we need to be abusive, right? But time is not our friend currently. We've seen posts from public figures saying things about yelling at employees or yelling at people. But what they fail to tell you, to illustrate in those moments of sharing the emotion with you is, what about the employees or clients that it's your 27th time telling them? You know, you done tried every opportunity, right? Every opportunity. And none of it worked. There's just some of those cases. And that's not to say that, oh, that's an excuse to abuse, but when you look at sports, because business emulates sports, right? When you look at sports, coaches yell, players yell at each other. It's not abuse unless you want to feel like it is abuse, right? I learned how to do photography on a high level, not just work a camera, in the nightclubs. And I remember, you know, the table help. One of the girls we had working the table one day, early on when I first got started. Because the guy that got me started doing photography, like I approached him like, look, I know what you're doing. Obviously, it's no secret. I want in. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be the best, period. So that's how I got into that. Now, he had a master's degree in photography. Like, prior to that, I didn't know there was such a thing. You know, you think master's degree and you list a whole bunch of stuff. Photography probably didn't register on my top 10 things you get a master's degree in, but he had a master's degree in photography. He did, for anybody that knows who Gold's Gym is or was, he's the photographer that shot Gold's Gym's very first calendar, right? Like, I'm talking high level dude. So I learned quick. I don't speak the language, right? Aperture, f-stop, all that stuff. Look, you want more light, less light, Okay, let's rock. I understand. I was able to do a whole photography career with, instructions in the beginning, but I understood it from the one chapter in physics class, high school physics class, under light. The chapter in your physics book under light is how I built basically everything from in my life, right? Because it all started with photography on this level of operation. That was my intro to marketing and branding 20 plus years ago. 20 plus 2026. Yeah, 20 plus years ago. Product placement, Budweiser, King Magazine, Club Samba tour. I mean, that's what got me started technically in doing marketing and branding. So when people see, oh, your business say you started, 3-4 years ago. Well, that's when I left the volunteer slavery and made it official. But I've been doing marketing and branding for going on 25 years now. That's why, I don't even argue. But the point of the matter is this. The Table Help King was offended one day because she said he was yelling. She's tired of being yelled at. We were on site. I was like, look, dry your face up. Let me tell you something. I said, look around, pick the dude or chick that you most would wish would come talk to you right now. Right? Gave her a second. She pointed out somebody. I said, now, if they come over and go, now we're in the club now. This is not a 2026 club where everybody just standing around looking at you. I'm talking about this early 2000s, right? Club is doom, doom, doom. People dancing, everything jumping, right? Packed. I mean, everything moving. I'm not talking about. So I said, they come over and go, hey, meanwhile, bass hitting, boom, boom. You gonna be like, huh? What? Y'all gonna do that for how long before you be like, man, fuck this? You know what I mean? Now, you would want him to come over and be like, hi, my name is, right? With the enunciation, with the yelling, almost yelling at you, really actually yelling at you because they got to talk over the club. Then it started to register like, oh, I said, you wouldn't be offended then because it's what you wanted, right? Oh, I didn't look at it like that before. Okay, now here's my secret. This is what I'm telling her. I only want to hear it once. So go ahead and tell me. I'm going to get it. I'm going to make sure I got it because I don't want to hear that shit again. Right? And that's how I move. I only want to hear this shit once. Because you're not guaranteed a second chance at nothing in life. Changed her life, right? She didn't have that problem. I ain't saying she like it, but she ain't had that problem no more, right? How does that help you and maybe something you going through or your neighbor, friends, family, coworker, employee? Help them, right? Translate that message. But let's get back to this post, right? So let's just run it from the top. For Americans, the United States is not the enemy. Forced dependency is. You didn't abandon commitment, you've rebuilt boundaries and stopped confusing participation with progress. Employees face this before leaving their jobs. Founders face it with unproductive clients. Surveys, some of them, find that burnout has affected 53 to 55% of full-time U.S. workers. They judged you, your character. They ignored what your work was up against. They took it for granted, right? You made it look too easy. They thought they could do it. Anybody could do this. Yeah, anybody could pick up a camera, but everybody ain't creative. Same action, new system, new meaning. A toxic workplace or client or environment or your own inner voice in your head may demand you be the frog in a pot of boiling water. It may require you to stay longer, try harder, remain patient, prove loyalty, finish what you started, they'll say. Now, at a national scale, this is civic data. Running a system is not seeing the effect on people. See, I can watch people how they move, and you wonder why I just use the title antisocial. I don't even know if that's the proper title. Now, I'm an optimization specialist, right? If I'm telling a business, you need to optimize this because it's really, you're overworking your employees for what it's worth. So you gotta raise prices to make it sustainable and to make it healthy. You gotta make it healthy. You know what I mean? Because when the employee winds up in the hospital with a heart attack, and I'm like, do something for them, go see them, send them the family something. And you don't do none of that. I already know we lost. Right? That's your character. I create the unmistakable you. Right? So running a system is not seeing its effect on the people. And one of the things I take great pride in is making sure the people in the systems I create are well accounted for. That's why America comes to me. I'm ready to help government leaders see both. Because, from my perspective, it may be catalytic to go from top down like I'm used to in business, corporations and stuff. At least a mixture of then working with the people from the bottom up. Because you can't get everybody to participate in what they don't know exist. Right? Because you heard the saying, give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Sometimes you're trying to get them to go a mile and they stop and start celebrating at an inch. Right? Because they've been stuck for so long, the inch is like a mile to them. They go an inch and they feel like, what do we need this for anymore? Look how far we've come. It's only an inch. Right? This is what happens in this United States and America paradigm. Okay, let's keep going. So I'm ready to help the government leaders see both. Right? Look at this shit. From 1944 to 1954, the political participation grew in Guatemala because there was an opening of the door to a greater freedom, right? So without going into the whole story, there was like a fruit company that had worked their political magic and kind of had like plantations, basically. I ain't gonna call it plantation, but they had a lot of land down there and they was just working their shit out of them motherfuckers. And of course, they was getting the profits, right? and a lot of other American or United States corporations wound up down there for different reasons, and it was just a big party in Guatemala. And then the people said no mas, right? No mas, and they stood up. Without going into detail, I mean, you can look all this up yourself offline on your free time. So basically, what happened is they got their shit together, and they said no, and they started kicking out the companies, right? Taking the land back, whatever. However, go look it up. So another future became recognizable. See, they didn't see it before. It was behind the door. Then, somebody kicked the door open. They picked up, whatever. Boom. Ah, and they could see now. One of these books I'm reading was saying, like, you can't, if they didn't experience it yet, right? They're no threat. Like, if you don't know freedom, you're no threat. That's why this video is gonna reach the people it reach, and the people who are gonna look for it is gonna look for it. I'm good with that. Now, if I was on here falling off a ladder, tripping over a table, doing some dumb shit, 60 million views, right? Because the moment you can taste the freedom that I've seen, that I know exists, that I want to build America into becoming as a whole, you're gonna be out there looking just as crazy as some people will say I look, right? So they'll cut this video at 250 views. You know what I mean? Chew bubblegum, spin in a circle, and go 16 million views, right? People watch it over and over again. All right, because that's no threat, okay? But you become dangerous once you see something exist and then they close the door on you, right? That's when you become dangerous. That's what happened in Guatemala. They got that taste of freedom for the first time that they never knew existed before. And what happened next? So that was another future became recognizable. And then the power came in, slammed the door shut. They might as well plastered the wall with restricted access with the red light on. Right? So it's your move. It was your move to them in Guatemala the same way it's your move now on this continent. Because in 1954, the CIA was doing their thing, and they removed our Benz and got a BMW, right? They violently closed the door in everybody's face in Guatemala. Woof, lights out. So technically, the proper English, the proper politically correct semi-approach to say it would be that the coup did not create Guatemalan civil war alone, because you had inequality, land concentration, racial exclusion, military power, and repression. And repression, it seems kind of close to recession. So I looked it up just to make sure for the people who, that I typo. Repression is forced fear, surveillance, or punishment that silence oppositions. Now, we ain't gonna, talk about the social credit score that I did the video on years ago, right? I'm not the amazing discoverer, but I did it. I'm just saying, I brought it to my team years ago. And now I'm getting calls because, what do you mean they're putting up license plate cameras that's going to read your cell phone? It's going to be able to read your work badge when you go by. It's going to know when the last time you saw or talked to your mother. The license plate camera is going to know the last time you phoned home, ET. Now I'm getting calls from people I ain't talked to in 7 years. Don't call me now. I got the people on the other side of this video that been hanging on, rocking with me the whole time. The ups, the downs, the no place to go, the no place to live, the everywhere all the time, the Benz, the BMW, the drop top convertible. You've been there. And we're gonna keep building America no matter what. People gonna come, people gonna go. But when they show that character, is that what we want, right? Because different histories, different causes, but post-COVID America carries a related anxiety related to the same thing that people, the mid-19th century, the mid-20th century, mid-1900s Guatemala, we going through a similar anxiety right now, but for different histories, different causes. Or should I say with different histories, with different causes. Because the people in the United States / America, actually all around the world, but let's start here at home, experience freedoms that was once called impossible. And then they watched them disappear, right? Millions discovered work could leave the office without losing output. It's actually a better way that way. I mean, because you could be anywhere in the world. I would advise building all operations that way. I come from what's known as an agile environment. What more agile could you get if you can be remote? When I was with Securitas Electronic Security I finished out doing, I'm doing project management. I did the remote installs for like PNC Bank, Starbucks, Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm running teams in Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and DC. I led the installs at the federal judges' personal homes in North and South Carolina. I don't know if it was all of them, but it was a lot. The one I'm most proud of is, now, I led an install at the Pentagon. Me, the Pentagon, yes, that's right. Now, they probably knew who I was, but only the team going on site needed the special security clearance, pat down want, you know what I mean? But I'm remote, so I won't. Yo, deploy, right? All right. So fun shit, right? But so a lot of what I'm able to do for businesses like yours that we may call small businesses today is I'm able to bring in intangibles from my experience at multi-billion-dollar companies that I actually made better. So if I can make a multi-billion-dollar company better, more efficient, I can do it for yours. We got to put in the work and we need the budget. And if there's a less budget, it's going to take more time. If you got more budget, it might be done faster. Something like that normally, right? But you got to really want it. But I create the unmistakable you. So if I say I'm going to take you to being national or global or industry thought leader, and you get in front of the camera for the first time and you decide this is where you want to get off, you just want to be in front of the camera, you want to say, forget all the people of America I could be helping, I'm gonna be selfish, I'm gonna focus on me because I want to be seen. Like you talking to the wrong person. I'm I'm not, I'm not gonna say I'm the best. Of course, I'm gonna say I'm the best. I wrote this song, but I'm a songwriter. And you don't even see me in my own music videos because I could care less about being seen. The message is gonna reach 60,000 people because it wasn't about me. It was about them getting the message. So you gotta have the right people, the right mentalities, right? Because let's get back on track. Millions discovered that work could leave the office without losing output. Government could support households directly. They just proved to you don't ever have to go back to work again, and everything could be free. They just proved it to you. Student loans and evictions could be put on pause until they decide. Families could reclaim commutes. Why? Force people to go to an office that, look, we're on live right now. This could be in Portugal right now. So what happened was families realized they could reclaim their commutes, if nothing else. Traffic, the tension, the anxiety, the stress of just sitting in a traffic jam is killing you. It's taking days, weeks, months, years off your life. How dare your employer make it when it's unnecessary? For some people, it's necessary. But if it's unnecessary, what does that say? They care. How much does that say they care about you as a human, as an earthling? Because I'm an alien, right? So supposedly permanent rules were negotiable all of a sudden. Survival could depend less on uninterrupted wages. See, this is what they showed to you. That was a new next level of freedom that we can say it's not apples for apples, but it's like for like as far as the experience with Guatemala. So Americans were decoupled. United States citizens were decoupled from an old belief and introduced to a promise from a book. Governance requires consent. So mid-century 20th century or mid-1900s Guatemala and post-COVID America / United States do not share history on the what, the when, the where, the why, but they do share a human wound. You're wounded. You may not be able to explain it like that. You may be feeling a lot of different shit. You may talk to your neighbor and they're talking about something totally different that you feel ain't the same, but it's the same wound. The door opened enough to prove to you another life was possible, and then that old system closed the door and called the locksmith and said it was a return to normalcy. So America's return to normal, the United States return to normal, attempted to recouple income with submission, productivity to physical presence, healthcare to employment, housing to uninterrupted payments, identity to occupation, human value to measurable output. That don't require the rules necessarily to create the same output. Systems remember. So after the people experienced a freedom once called impossible, restoring the constraints feels like deprivation, not normalcy. You feel like you're deprived of something. You get up every day and you feel like something's missing. Something was taken from you. Something was carved out of your body. The etymology of the word forgiveness means to take a piece of oneself or to give a piece of oneself. So you were already just like in a voluntary slavery situation. That's what I call it. Okay. And then you had this new exposure to this freedom that you never knew was possible. And then they take that from you and then they want you to forgive. So after that was ripped away from you, the freedom that you never knew existed, you're supposed to carve off another pound of flesh and hand it to them. America, and even the United States citizens that don't know how to explain it, America may have not lost its work ethic. Its people may be losing the willingness to submit to conditions that the pandemic proved were negotiable. Now, what power calls a return to normal can feel basically like a repossession of freedom. You know what I mean? Like you done seen it, had it happen to you, or you done watched it on YouTube. You done seen a car repo before once in your life. That's what they did with the freedom. You had it parked in your garage, and they came and hooked the truck up to it and clink, 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 and drove. I need you to be the people jumping on the hood of the car, going down the highway, trying to take the chain off. Or the ones that you laughing at that's up in the SUV, got it in drive and they rocking it off the joint, and we need to pull that shit up off the tow truck, right? Bumper ripped off and everything, and let it hit the ground, boom, boom, boom. Because when it's fun, you can ride around, you can do this in the car right now, everybody. But when you need it to bounce, you ain't trying to make it bounce, right? What power calls a return to normal can feel like a repossession of freedom. America does not need another civil war. So we don't need to necessarily take the route Guatemala took. Matter of fact, let's learn from Guatemala. That was 30 years of civil war. Let's learn from what's going on, because I always told you 25 years ago, we probably all had the mentality of let's grab it, load up on the ammunition and let's go do something about it. But I'm Pasha. That's high-ranking general or political figure. I gotta be the one to say, wait a minute, hold up. I know how you feel. You're emotional right now. Yeah, we betting on the American military, the United States Armed Forces won't shoot American people, but we don't know that. Like what we just talked about, submission, paycheck, housing, right? We don't. Some of them might be, right? They right? So we don't know that for sure. And even if they do, let's learn from Iran. Why do you think I'm not gonna say why you think they're getting robo soldiers and drones together, but that's potential. They don't even have to worry about people resisting. They're gonna have, this is the potential. Okay, it may come to that, but they got missiles, right? I priced how much it would cost to get missiles. You can get a jet for $2 million, $5 million. That's only one jet. Now we gotta scrape up money together. They got a whole bunch of them. Apache helicopters and tanks and shit. We just outmatched in that regard. Not outnumbered, outmatched. Not to say we can't do it, but is there an easier way? Yes, business. The Chinese said somewhere, I had to go look it up, that business is an extension of martial arts. This is why you hear me saying if we get our business sense together and we agree on a destination, we'll never have to fire a shot. Like I say, I'm not recommending that, but it wouldn't have to get to that point because we, the people, would be sustainable with or without the United States providing services for we, the people, period. That's where we have our power. That's why they're hoping you don't share the live or share the video or send it to 25 of your closest friends and family members. So America may not be losing or have lost its work ethic. Its people may be losing the willingness to submit to conditions that we just found out don't have to be so. And what power calls a return to normal can feel like a repossession of freedom. America doesn't need another civil war. It needs capacity revolution. None of this stuff going on in Iran would matter if we didn't have to get shipped. Say that 10 times. If we didn't have to get shit shipped through the canal because we make it here. We don't need more. I'm not going to say we don't need more restaurants, but we don't need more restaurants. We need more industry. We need more innovation. We need something that is a new, like, I'm an advocate of doing away with currency. Like, we get rid of currency and everything be free. Like, the person that's working, that's being forced indirectly, or whatever you want to say, however they got there, they're working at Starbucks because they got in the door, they started getting a check, and they got to keep the lights on, and they don't have time to put an application and go through interview processes other places. So they never realized that they would have been the next greatest car designer, and Elon Musk gets another 10 years on top because his competition is stuck at Starbucks and may never make it out. Why? Because the community didn't invest in them. Why? Because the community was all stuck somewhere trying to make it out, and it was difficult. Because we haven't agreed on what we want America to be. We're just letting them tell us what it is. We fight the constellations, stars and stripes, Pasha Paro, you. Fight for America by building more of America ourselves. Businesses, productive assets, local jobs, community-rooted innovation. I want you to remember one thing, if nothing else. Once freedom is introduced, once freedom introduces you to yourself, no system can make you strangers again. And that's why I create the unmistakable you.